Race for the Record, Chapter 4, The Good Luck Necklace. Lestani seemed untroubled by the encounter with the boy in the market, but Alistair was upset. "He went like this, Papa," he said at that night, drawing a finger across his throat. "Sandy, do you think?" Maisie Sutherland asked uneasily. "Nay, nay, he's just a lad," said her husband, deftly peeling the bony skeleton from the baked fish on the platter. "I know the father, a devout Muslim, but very polite. The lad's name is Ravi, a bit hot-blooded, but just talk." Alistair resentfully watched Lestani noisily suck in a bite of the savory fish and smack his lips. All Lestani cared about was the boy's fancy knife. He pouted. Lestani's eyes lit up. "Good knife," he said. "I want." "A good knife like that costs lots of money, Lestani," Alistair shot back. "Big money. You not gonna have any money." Lestani looked confused, but Alistair turned back to his father. But what did the Muslim boy mean by... Just then the screen door banged, and a man's voice called out, "Hello!" "Harry," said Sandy Sutherland, getting up from the table and greeting their guest. "Come and sit down. I'm afraid we've polished off the fish, but these bairns don't like dessert, so I'm sure there's plenty." The children greeted their father's teasing with a chorus of protest. Harry Edwards laughed and pulled up an extra chair. "Don't worry, kids. I've already had my supper, but..." He pulled an envelope from his shirt pocket and waved it in the air. "A fishing boat brought mail, and guess who has written us a letter?" "Mail?" said Maisie Sutherland. "How did mail come through during August monsoons? No, not Miss Ritterhoff." Harry Edwards was so excited he could hardly sit in his chair. "Yes, and not only that, but she wrote to say that even before she got our letter, she was planning to leave for the Philippines in October by the end of this year." "Wow, see how God works." "She's coming?" shouted Sandy Sutherland. "Praise be to God, I am praying and hoping. You didn't really think..." "Why, that's wonderful," exclaimed Alistair's mother. "But that's less than 2 months away, and we still haven't found anyone who can translate from English to Palawano." "What about Lestani?" said Heather matter-of-factly. "If you haven't noticed, he picks up English like Bow picks up fleas." Everyone looked at the girl and then at Lestani. Alistair rolled his eyes. What did his sister know about it? Mr. Edwards stroked his chin. "Heather, you may be on to something." "But October?" protested Maisie Sutherland. It's almost September now. I mean, Lestani is learning fast, but he doesn't know English well enough yet to translate." True, said Harry Edwards. "But October is just when Miss Ritterhoff's ship leaves Los Angeles. Here, listen." He scanned through the letter again. "She's going to record several languages on Luzon and some of the other islands first. She says to let her know if we can make the arrangements on our end, and she'll try to come to Palawan as well." He looked up. "My guess is it will be another 5 or 6 months." "I see," Maisie Sutherland said thoughtfully. "In 6 months, Lestani just might be able to..." Sandy Sutherland held up his hands. "Everyone just hold on here," he said. "Harry, I'm as eager as you are to get the gospel record to Palawano. This is a wonderful opportunity." But the pastor's eyes rested on Lestani, who was looking from one adult to the other with a puzzled look. "We cannot keep Lestani indefinitely. His leg has healed almost completely, and frankly, it's time to take him home." "You're right, Sandy," Harry Edwards agreed, slapping the table. "I've been thinking about Lestani too. We've all noticed what a bright boy he is, and he's already learned so much English. I've also noticed that he seems to like working in your garden, Maisie. He has a good eye for growing things. Why not..." Mr. Edwards's eyes danced. "Why not send Lestani to the farm school in Aberlon next year? I'm prepared to pay his tuition. Why, the things he would learn there could be very useful to to his barrio in the mountains, and all the Palawanis tribespeople for that matter. But Harry, protested Sandy Sutherland, we cannot just... No, no, of course, we can't just do it. We'll take him back to the barrio and ask his family permission to let him come back here to finish the school year. Then go to the farm school next June. Well, said Sandy Sutherland thoughtfully, I suppose if he had his family's permission to continue to study, it would be wonderful if he could translate for Miss Ritterhoff whenever she comes to Brooks Point. Somebody better ask Lestani what he wants to do, Alistair grumbled. It was wonderful, of course, to hear that the Ritterhoff lady might be able to come to Palawan Island and make recordings in the Palawan language. But Alistair's feelings were still raw from the Morrow's boys' threats at the market, and nobody else seemed to even care. And if he had to help tutor Lestani for the whole rest of the year, he might never be ready to go to boarding school next June. Out of the mouths of the children, laughed Harry Edwards. Macy and Sandy, your kids have more wisdom than the lot of us put together. Lestani, he turned to the dark-haired boy, who still had a puzzled look on his face. Would you like to stay here and continue to go to school? Yes, I stay. Go school, said Lestani. Macy, help me, said Harry Edwards helplessly. How do we explain about the farm school and helping to translate Bible records into Palawano? Slowly and patiently, Macy Sutherland tried to explain about going to a school in Aberlin 70 miles up the coast after the next dry season and learn how to grow food. Again, Lestani said quickly, Yes, I go farm school. Sandy Sutherland took over. Lestani, a woman is coming back here to tell the Jesus story. The same Jesus story I talk about on Sunday at the chapel. Lestani gave a slow nod. She is going to put the Jesus story in a how should I say record player? A talking box. A box that talks in Lestani's own language. When you learn more English, you could help her. The boy frowned. Talking box? No, Lestani not help. He clutched the Lebanese charm around his neck. Alistair saw his parents look at each other helplessly. How could they help Lestani understand the difference between an evil spirit and a tape recorder? As they tried to explain that a talking box was just a machine, Alistair idly picked up the letter from Joy Ritterhoff that Mr. Edwards had laid on the table. A phrase at the bottom of the page caught his eye. Hey, he said suddenly, Miss Ritterhoff says she will pay the translator for help. He looked at Lestani. Pay money. Money? Lestani's eyes lit up. Money for good knife? A wide grin spread across his face. Yes, Lestani, help. The monsoons continued to lash the east coast of Palawan into September before it was safe to travel into the mountains. Mr. Edwards could not go, but there would not be any Almacan gum to trade so soon after monsoon season, and he and his workers were busy harvesting coconuts. So it was decided that Sandy Sutherland and Alistair would go with Lestani back up the mountain trail to Lestani's village, or as close as they would be allowed to go with him. The night before they left, Alistair went into the sitting room to cover Coco's cage for the night and heard his parents talking as they sat out in the yard, catching the gentle night breeze coming up from the beach. I'm going to miss Lestani, his mother said wistfully. He'll be back, his father encouraged. Yes, but what if his family want to give their permission for him to come back? We may have missed our golden opportunity to bring him to Jesus. Nay, Macy, we mustn't think like that, replied Sandy Sutherland. We have planted and watered many seeds. Oh, excuse me. It's up to the Holy Ghost to grow them up. all in God's own good time. Alistair's mother sighed. I know, but he still lives in fear of evil spirits. I tried to tell him the power of Jesus is greater than the evil spirits, but he just smiled and said that he liked Jesus and his Lambos charm. Might as well add Allah to Lestani's religious stew, Alistair thought as he covered the bird's cage. He wondered if his parents knew how often Lestani went to the market to talk to the Morrow's boy about buying the knife. Alistair had no doubt Ravi was trying to convince Brother Lestani that there is no God but Allah. But even Ravi could not make Lestani take off the Lambos charm. Just 2 days earlier, Alistair and Lestani had run into Ravi at the market. Even though Alistair tried to avoid the fish stall, as usual, Ravi had ignored Alistair and asked if he could see the necklace that Lestani wore snugly around his neck. Lestani jerked back. No, no touch. Why? Ravi had insisted. You wear it so tight, it looks uncomfortable. Lambos like skin. Lambos warn danger. Get tight, like so. Lonnie squeezed Ravi's arm. The next morning, Sandy Sutherland led the way up the first half of the trail, but as the trail grew steeper and more hidden beneath the ferns, Lestani took the lead. Alistair, bringing up the rear, suddenly realized the tables had turned. Back in Brooks Point, Lestani was the stranger, the one who needed to be taught what to do. But here in the forest, Lestani knew its secrets, and Alistair and his father were the strangers and intruders. As Alistair pulled himself up the mountain trail using 3 roots and sharp pieces of stone to give him a boost, he wondered about what Lestani had said the other day. The Lambos charm couldn't really warn him about danger, could it? Wasn't all that stuff about evil spirits just superstition? Alistair felt sweat running down his face. It was so humid in the forest after the monsoons. He really needed to drink. Rubbing the back of his hand across his forehead, he called out, Wait, Lestani, can we stop? Shh! Lestani made a sudden hushing sound and held up his hand for quiet. Alistair saw him grip the Lambos charm and hold perfectly still for a few minutes. Both Alistair and his father obediently stood still. Alistair listened, but he couldn't hear anything unusual. Even the treetops were quiet, except for the chattering and thrilling of birds and water dripping from the palm fronds onto the lush ferns and tall grasses below. Again, Lestani motioned for silence. But he began moving again up the steep path, slower now, looking this way and that. Alistair felt impatient. Was Lestani showing off, trying to make them feel like there was some danger in the forest? He really wanted to stop and take a drink from the canteen his father wore. Down! Yelled Lestani, and at the same moment, Alistair felt Lestani throw himself at Sandy Sutherland and reached out an arm and pulled Alistair down with him, and the 3 bodies tumbled off the path and went into the thick undergrowth. Alistair's face nosedived into the dirt, and his father's stocky body landed across him, pinning him. He jerked his face to the side, spitting out dirt, twigs, and leaves, so he could breathe. Ah! He sputtered. But again he heard Lestani hiss. Shh! The 3 of them lay silently in the brush for several long minutes before Lestani finally scrambled to his feet. Sandy Sutherland rolled off Alistair and helped his son stand up. Lestani, said Sandy Sutherland quickly. What happened? But Lestani was looking carefully into the brush just beyond where they had fallen. Alistair rolled his eyes. If Lestani was playing some stupid game with them, trying to impress them, he, for one, was going to... Ah! Lestani exclaimed suddenly and pulled something from the trunk of a tree. He held it up for the ruddy-faced father and son to see, a small, straight arrow with a very sharp point. A blowgun dart, exclaimed Sandy Sutherland. Do you mean someone? Yes, Lestani nodded soberly. Someone tried to kill But how do you know? Alistair's father asked. Lestani's hand went to the piece of a carved bone tied snugly around his waist. The Lombo's charm warned danger. He smiled broadly. Very good luck, yes? Just when they're trying to get him to understand that those things don't really work. There's no such thing as luck. Okay. End of chapter 4.